Wake up, everybody!
We're starting the whole thing over again.
Today is March 4th.
We made it 1 year and then we just fell apart. This is it. We're done.
I can't
do
it's the
this
pressure.
anymore.
It's too much pressure. I want my PS5. Wake up, everybody. Today is Thursday, March 4th, and we are Never Free to Play, a podcast where we talk about all the video games we wish we were playing. I'm one of your hosts, Karch Palashji, joined by my co-host, Jason Wright and Sean Mybers. If you decide you like us, well, we don't care. We made it 1 year without your support. But you can find us at neverfreetoplay.com, patreon.com/neverfreetoplay, or on all the other social media where we are Never Free to Play. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback, please send it to us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. It's been a year and I still haven't memorized that spiel. Jason, how you doing?
I have a kind of, I think it could be, it's an aquatic animal question, so I feel like at Coast Guard would be the umbrella it would fall under. This animal belonged on the coast, so I have a Coast Guard question.
Okay. What do you got?
Okay. So I'm walking through my neighborhood 2 days ago, and I see some person open their fence to their backyard, and a little duck waddles out, and I'm like, huh, interesting. Those people have a pet duck. And then I see a woman kind of like casually following it out, and it's walking. And then I see like a 5-year-old with a little plastic wiffle ball bat like chasing this duck out of their backyard, and then it decided it would fly, but it never got above the roof line, and it like whizzed right by me, and then it flew into someone's front yard and just sat there. And I continued my walk, and on my way back, it was just standing in the street, like, put me out of my misery. So, my question is, what do you do? How do you guard that from, happening?
I mean, in all honesty, the duck was probably sick because ducks are they travel in flocks. And so usually if it's been separated its flock, it's because the flock was traveling and it got sick or ill or weak for whatever reason, and it couldn't keep up. So now it's stuck there until it either recovers or it passes away.
Wow, way to start this podcast off on a bummer there, Jason.
We had that happen with an albatross once, where an albatross landed on our cutter and then was sick and wouldn't leave the cutter. And I don't know if you know, but an albatross is a ship's good luck charm until it dies.
Yeah,
that's the way the story goes, and then you're screwed. And so, like, I was trying to explain to everyone, like, no, we have to take care of this albatross because if it dies on this boat, we're all gonna die. Like, the boat's gonna go down.
How did nobody know that?
And we eventually got the albatross well enough that it flew off the cutter, and we did not all sink.
Wow. I didn't expect such a serious response and harrowing follow-up to my goofy duck story. Now I'm depressed.
Well, we've got some some uplifting conversation to have.
We do. So let's get into some housekeeping. Like, sub, follow. It's been a year. We're almost to 50. That would be a cool milestone.
One more.
Yeah, we just need one more. So somebody push the subscribe button, or at least, write us a question. Let us know you're out there. Since we've been going at it for a year, we did have some changes that we wanted to make. So I think we're going to go ahead and make this a permanent change, but obviously everything's in flux and we'll experiment as we go. But we are going to roll out what we're calling Phase 2. So Phase 2, slightly different recording schedule. Assuming 4 weeks in a month, we're going to alternate in this pattern. The first week of the month, we will do a podcast. The second week of the month, each of us will do a solo project. It could be a game review. It could be a let's play. But you're going to be getting content, hopefully 3 videos that week. And then third week of the month, we'll do a podcast. And fourth of the week of the month, we're going to try to do let's plays together with 3 of us. And then as we go forward, if there's certain games you want to see us play or something like that, let us know and we'll check it out. Anything either of you want to say about Phase 2?
Here we go, baby. No, it's been fun, Jason, starting this with you and Sean, an unexpected but very welcomed addition to the team. It just kind of fit and it flowed like melted warm butter. and I'm really happy to be doing this. You guys want to talk about your projects? What you're going to be doing when we're not recording?
I'm planning on my first one will probably be finishing up on the Messenger. So I've got, I mentioned I've got 2 episodes filmed that I need to finish editing, and so that'll become my go-to. We'll see if it just I don't think I'm going to do it just once a month. But at least here for the beginning, that'll be it, and then I may either finish it and film some other things, or we'll see. I would like to continue to put out stuff fairly frequently, just small little indie videos.
It's a good plan. Someone's got to, because it's not what Jason and I have planned. Jason,
it's like I don't have a kid or something.
So yeah, I'm tossing around a couple different ideas. I don't think I've committed to any of them yet, but I do want to kind of make something maybe a little more niche and a little more produced. So yeah, I don't know what that'll be yet, and then that'll be interspliced with some other gameplay videos. And I do want to continue to. I want to finish up the Final Fantasy VII, the original playthrough that I was on.
That'd be really cool.
And then from there, I don't know what I'll do next. But what about you, Karch?
I've alluded to it several times, and I have the intro finished, but I'm going to focus on my king. What's that?
It's a very nice intro.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I liked it, and so I'm going to focus completely on my Kingdom Hearts ranking, because I have 2 games already finished, and I'd really like to start Kingdom Hearts 2, but I don't want to get too far ahead before I just start forgetting everything else, and it gets the water's getting muddied. So I'm gonna get that first video out by next week, and then I'll get the next one out maybe the next month, and then I'll finally start Kingdom Hearts 2, and that's what I got. And we are going to, on the other week where we don't record the podcast, we're going to start playing Stardew Valley. No idea for how long, but Jason said he loved it, and he said he's willing. Sean got it for free, actually, through some cool little government thing.
Yeah, I got it through Games for Grunts, which is a program run by Operation Supply Drop, which is a nonprofit that focuses on helping military members with community engagement, professional development, basically all the aspects that come with trying to reintegrate back into the civilian society. So great organization, Operation Supply Drop, and Game for Grunts. Thank you for my free copy of Stardew Valley on PC.
Well, that's all I had to talk about for Phase 2. So we'll go ahead and do some shout-outs. Shout out to Josh. You know who you are. Thank you for the background controllers that we're using in our nice new background that's animated.
Look good.
Yeah, we're picky. We have him do the controller clouds for the original background, and then we decided the clouds didn't look quite right on that gradient that we're using for the background, so we made Josh make us new ones. So thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, buddy.
Corrections.
Start corrections music now.
Yes. Haha.
Fine, I'll do it just for you. I'll start it right when you said. So last week Sean said that Crash 4 was not free PS4 to PS5 upgrade if you had the PS4 version, and we found out that that's not true, right, Sean?
Yeah, so it will be a free upgrade. I was misinformed.
Now, to color this a little bit more, and this is true for the Final Fantasy VII one as well, for some reason Japan has to pay, and maybe some other territories. I don't know why, but Japan is not getting free upgrades where other people are from PS4 to PS5 titles. It's bizarre, but that's how it is. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, and then the other thing is, I think we kept saying Kena, Bridge of Spirits, but it's Kena.
Kena is pronounced Kena. That is Kena Bridge of Spirits. The State of Play video, we said something else. Sean said Kenya. You said something else. I'm the only one who was saying Kena, because that's what the developers have been saying.
I think I was saying Kena.
Maybe you were, because again, that's what the State of Play said too. The voiceover. But they are wrong, because the developers, in an article somewhere, I didn't get the link, but they do say it's pronounced Kena. It's not spelled Kena at all. I don't blame anyone, but that is how it is said.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Karch. Moving on to the news.
Let's get into the news. So, last week was heavy. It's way too much. And even still, after we finished recording on Friday morning, we woke up to some Pokemon Day celebration, 25th anniversary stuff. Thankfully, it happened on Friday, so we could have a nice little barrier between us and between then and now. and I'm ready to talk about it. Did anybody else watch the full presentation?
Yeah, I went back and watched it on Saturday.
What'd you think of it overall?
I mean, I liked it. Obviously, I haven't played a Pokemon game in I think since Silver and Gold.
That's a long time.
So, but I will say at least one of these announcements made me kind of go, yeah, I may pick it up. As we'll see here.
Yep. Jason, did you watch the presentation?
No, Pokemon. I haven't played Pokemon since Pokemon Gold, so it's just not my thing. So I did not watch this.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It opens up with this fun kind of like trip down memory lane, but it literally took like 10 to 15 minutes as they went through every generation and then like everything it introduced. And at first you're like, oh, it's fun. Red, blue, gotta catch 'em all. Something yellow, camera. But then like you start to see just how many goofy little things have been introduced in the Pokemon, like, game entertainment space. And it was like, wow. Oh no, this is too much. You've made a huge mistake thinking we wanted to sit through and watch all of this.
I took that as them kind of celebrating their 25th anniversary. So
it was, and like again, I'm here for that, and it just snappier. Make it snappier.
Yeah.
There's a lot of years to go through. Yeah. So the first thing they did, they had Pokemon Snap. I did not commit a lot of this to memory because there just wasn't a lot of stuff worth committing to memory. It's more Pokemon Snap, and there's going to be a big social feature. You're going to be able to share your pictures. People are going to be able to like them. So, and a photo editing mode. So you'll take your pictures on your little machine thing in the game, and then you'll be able to do all the fun photo edit stuff that you can do in lots of modern games, and then chase those likes, I guess. I don't know. It's in the lentil region, which is funny because it's named after a bean, a legume, actually, I think. But yeah, it's still Pokemon Snap, and I think we all know how I feel about Pokemon Snap at this point.
I know how Jason feels. You've gone back and forth a little bit.
It's true. I'm keeping you on your toes.
Jason's the one I know how he feels.
Yeah. I showed all this to Juliet, and I got a resounding meh. I was like, oh, okay, well, that was fun.
That bodes poorly for Pokemon in the future.
It
not
does.
The kids anymore.
Those Ultra Zoomers are gonna who knows what they're gonna be doing. Next thing is the thing I'm most excited about, and that is the Diamond and Pearl remake. It was not Blinding Diamond. What was it? Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. That's what they've always done with these remakes. They did the same thing with Leaf Green and Fire Red and Soul Silver and something Gold. What was it? It doesn't matter. They always give it a fun adjective, though. So most interesting point of information, it's coming out 2021. It has a very interesting art style that a lot of people are pretty grumpy about. I'm not one of them. But the most interesting thing, I think, because we don't know much about it yet, is that it's actually not developed by Game Freak. This would be the first time a main Pokemon game or one of their remakes like these was not developed by Game Freak, which is kind of a big deal. But we'll see.
So real quick, it was... I just brought it up and I forgot. It was Soul Silver.
Mm-hmm. Heart Gold. That's what it was.
Gold.
I have Heart Gold. You think I'd be able to remember that? But yeah, Diamond Pearl, Gen 4 in general, which includes those remakes, the Soul Silver, Heart Gold, are my favorite. Those are my favorite little bunch of games. I love the Gold and Silver games, and those remakes really just bring that to a nice little modern. You could play those forever in the future, and they'd always be fun at this point. Taking them out of the Game Boy era. And then Diamond Pearl is just a lot of fun. I never played Platinum, which was the third version they made, like the sister version they call it sometimes. Mm-hmm. And people always said it was really great because there were some things about Diamond and Pearl that were not great, and Platinum just goes through and just fixes them all, makes it a nearly perfect kind of game. So I'm really hoping that they include those changes because they did the remakes of Ruby and Sapphire, which had the Emerald sister version, the third copy, and they did not take all the stuff they did in Emerald. It was a weird mix of the two, and a lot of people were mad. It's like, why would you do that? You already had a really great game.
I think I'm somewhat feeding off of your excitement as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And I obviously, because I stopped at Gold and Silver, and you're saying that this was your favorite era Pokemon, there is part of me that's like, maybe I'll play some Pokemon. I mean, it's been so long since I've played Pokemon that it would probably feel actually kind of novel to me at this point because I've been away for so long.
Yeah, I mean, it would feel real familiar too. So
I had that same thought that Pokemon, like back when I had first got my 3DS, this was like 2012, and I hadn't played a Pokemon game since like 98. Well, not really, like 2000, whatever. My point being, I thought it would be nice, I was like, oh, I haven't touched this in over a decade, and I think I got Pokemon Black, and I could not get into it anymore. So,
not a great one to come back to, because there would the hook for Black and White was that until you beat the game, all the Pokemon are completely new. Every single Pokemon, they made 150 brand new Pokemon, and only those were the only ones you could interact with until you beat the game, and then it unlocked some of the older ones. So you would have had like no touchstone to like your childhood and the nostalgia.
Yeah, I mean, and I only know the original, so
right.
I mean, really, I don't even know. I don't know that I could name a single one from Gold and Silver. So yeah, that does nothing for me.
All right, moving on to something that does a lot for a lot of people, at least hesitantly, because it looks a little rough. It's a new entry to the franchise, maybe a new series in the future, is called Pokemon Legends. And here's another word, another name that nobody can agree on is Arceus. That's what they said in the direct, so that's what I'll say here. Pokemon Legends Arceus. It takes place in ancient, well, not ancient, but like feudal Japan-style Sinnoh, which is the same region that Diamond and Pearl take place in. And your characters, the boy and girl, are modeled after the same boy and girl from Diamond and Pearl. Playfully being referred to as Breath of the Pokemon, because it very, very much looks like they're just trying to copy Breath of the Wild, but put a Pokemon spin on it.
Right, right down out to like that fresh out of the cave of
with the camera,
the
panning over them, the piano all over the place. There's a couple other shots, just like completely had to be intentional, signaling to be like, this is just like Breath of the Wild, right? Isn't this what you guys wanted? But that's coming out early 2022, which is pretty ambitious considering this is the first time we saw it. But we didn't see much of it. They're touting it as a action adventure. It's hard to say what the battles are going to look like. Catching Pokemon was very much different, though. You didn't go into a battle and beat them down. There was like a sneaking aspect, and you threw the Pokeball from really far off. So it was kind of a new take on the Let's Go thing. Yeah. Which again, sorry, go ahead.
It's like the Let's Go meets Assassin's Creed. Sit there and hide out of sight, and then sneak up on them and hit them with a Pokeball.
Looks rough though. Less kind of visually, but definitely looks rough performance-wise. It was chugging in that trailer, and hopefully that's just because they wanted to have something to show, and it was like an early build or whatever. But it didn't look good, as far as that is concerned. So, Jason, does this move the needle at all?
I will say a tiny bit, because at one point in my life, my dream game was a Dragon Ball Z game kind of like this, where it's, all the Dragon Ball Z games are mostly fighters. There's not really like an open world RPG one. There was one that was supposed to come out. I don't know if it ever did. Point is, if I can't have it for Dragon Ball Z, maybe I try it for Pokemon, obviously under the guise that Luke's going to get, like it. So, but I might.
Sean.
I was interested because they talked about how it just has like the one central village.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there'll be some aspect of like that village kind of building up as you almost kind of bring awareness or fame or civilization to the region. And then I also found it kind of interesting to be like, it's like the feudal period. It's like, but you still have like, I mean, were Pokeballs magical before they were technological? Because Pokeballs still exist.
Well, sure, yeah, maybe they've always been magical before they were technological or whatever. But yeah, if you notice, like the trailer opens with like a totally different like art style, like as it zooms in on a book on a table, and the Pokeball's next to it. You can see this kind of like wood grain on the white part instead of like, and maybe even on the red part as well. So there's ever so slightly showed these are old Pokeballs because they're made of wood or something dumb like that. Like even in universe, they're made of like tree nuts or something like that. In Gold and Silver, you would go around and grab nuts off of trees and they'd make Pokeballs out of those somehow. Yep. So, I'm actually less excited about this than the Diamond and Pearl remakes, assuming that the Diamond and Pearl remakes have that stuff I mentioned I wanted earlier. I don't know. Like it's hard to say. Like it's interesting to like go back to the beginning, quote unquote, because Arceus is the Pokemon they show at the very end of that trailer, and that it's being named after. But he's like literally God. He's like at least the Pokemon God, or if not the creator of like space and time and the control. Like it's a whole thing. But there's these other legendary Pokemon that he created that control like space, time, and like gravity or antimatter or something like that. And it's this whole little story in that series. And so it's weird to have like, oh, here's like, Podunk, feudal town, who knows what Pokemon are, maybe even. And then to contrast it against like this universe spanning like God Pokemon. Like, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish here. It's going to be really interesting. And early 2022 sounds very ambitious because even if you're going to be generous with the term early, April? So basically a year away? I don't know. I don't see it happening.
I look forward to seeing more about it. That's for sure. But
yes, definitely. And that was it. They had a nice, aside from that weird long opening, it was a really concise, like, here's Snap, here's the remake, and here's Legends, and they're all coming this, and that. Pokemon Snap comes later in April, Diamond and Pearl later this year, hopefully sooner rather than later, and then finally Pokemon Legends Arceus comes early 2022. Although it might be played on a new console because there are some heavy rumors coming from Bloomberg about a Switch maybe Pro? I don't know if that's what we'd really call it. But I got a list. The Switch Heavy, exactly. It's basically a bigger Switch with a better screen and display that supports 4K. I got a little too long didn't read list stolen straight from Reddit from some guy named Rio Megon. I can't even say his name, but there it is. All right, so the first bullet. Nintendo plans to unveil a Switch equipped with a bigger OLED display this year, hoping the larger touchscreen can prop up demand in time for holiday. Mass production of a 7-inch 720p resolution OLED display could begin as early as June. Just under 1 million units could be produced a month. Launch could have a closer to 4 to 6 million available. These OLED panels will consume less battery, offer higher contrast, and possibly faster response time when compared to the current liquid crystal displays. That's LCD for you noobs out there. Nintendo decided to go with rigid OLED panels for this new system since they're cheaper when compared to flexible OLED that's used for phones. The latest model will also come with a 4K ultra high def option for TV display, and then finally the new Switch will also offer thinner bezels. So, Jason, Mr. Hardware Man, who said that 4K wasn't possible, and then the Switch comes through and proves him wrong. How do you feel?
I really hate the setup of that question. I'm going to refute it. We are technological people out there. We are amongst a couple of posers. Karch told me he doesn't even believe in 4K.
I don't.
He doesn't think he would even see the difference.
It wouldn't. That's actually Sean, I think. But
well, anyway.
But I agree with him.
I didn't say I wouldn't see the difference. I said it wouldn't make a noticeable impact for me.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, no, I'm pretty stoked about this. I think the 4K rendering is a pretty neat concept. So along with that, there are rumors that this will be built off the Tegra X1 chip, and so it won't have. What was rumored last week was that the Switch was looking at DLSS, which is NVIDIA's AI rendering software algorithm. Really interesting on how that works. By the way, I looked into it a little bit. What they do is essentially it will take that smaller image and artificially it's a learning algorithm it's programmed off of stock images, and what they'll do is they'll try to make a 4K image of that smaller one and then predict what would scale it down, and that's what allows it to fill in the pixels around certain colors. It's prediction software. Anyway, super interesting, but this will not have that. Supposedly it will have a similar algorithm that does kind of the similar thing, but it's not technically DLSS or DLSS 2.0. And that's just based off of the availability of what would be compatible on the same platform that the original Switch is already built on. All that to say, I'm excited about it. The fan in my Switch sounds like it's gonna die any day. I mean, it really does.
Yeah, it can get really
So
high sometimes.
it's an OG one, yeah. So I mean, I could probably sell it on eBay because these are still trackable.
Right.
Yeah, with the older firmware before they soft upgraded. But I could probably sell this for $300 and go buy myself one of these Pros.
Yeah.
And that is probably what I will do. What about either of you? Are you excited? Will you upgrade?
Mm-hmm. All right. Before I answer that, maybe one of you knows. Does this have any bearing on what kind of like the horsepower of what it'll be able to do aside from the display on the screen or the television? Am I missing something here?
No, I said nothing I've seen indicates that this will be able to play more, heavy duty games than the Switch can currently play.
Not even that. Just games that it already plays better. That's I think that's all anyone's really settling for at this point. It's like they don't want Pokemon to run like garbage. Everyone's been saying, "Oh, of course, Breath of the Wild 2 is going to come with the Switch Pro." So is this it? Is this all we're getting?
I think it's all we're getting for now. I think they're not ready to iterate.
Switch is 4. We'll lump that little news bit in. The Switch turned 4.
Okay.
Like yesterday. And so like how much longer until they iterate versus they just create a second one?
I would say, the previous generations of consoles have been 6, 7, 8 years. So
yeah, but the most recent
I feel like they have at least 2 more.
Had a more significant than I think we're seeing here upgrade mid-generation. The Xbox One X was significantly more powerful than the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the point where games did run better, that you had better options. I don't think we're getting that. I mean, basically, it sounds like if they are using a machine learning algorithm, that instead of putting in the hardware that let them do 4K, they're essentially they're sleight of handing their way to 4K without having the accompanying hardware improvements. So we're not going to get any better technical performance out of our games.
Well, that's a big boo from me. So
I think it'll be like akin to like if you were to upgrade your computer from like an i5 to an i7,
Maybe, because that's still a processing thing.
Yeah, so it'll be like a slight bump. So we may, like you said, get better performance on the game that it already currently plays.
But there's no indication of that at this point.
Well, right, but these are just rumors. So
yeah, I mean, in terms of like what the X1 chip is known to be, it's newer than what's in the original. So I'm just assuming that it would be a little bit better.
Gotcha. Okay,
but not to the point where it would be like considered a generation shift for Switch 2.
It's gonna be really interesting to see how they market this, like, because this is not the Switch Lite is easy. Like, it's tiny. The Joy-Cons don't come off. It's for kids and second, people who want a second console in the house. Like that sells itself. This doesn't seem like it's gonna, because it's not the Pro, quote unquote, that people want, even if it is just a little bit beefier in these respects. I mean, a larger Switch is something I've wanted. That's definitely, but that's also like near the bottom of the list of things I've wanted out of a Switch Pro. But I might get one because, like you said, Jason, ours are worth more because they're OG. I have a scratch on my screen. It's minor, but I hate it. And, might as well get a newer one if I'm going to be playing my Switch until who knows when, because it's a really good console.
How the screen quality has been something about the Switch that's really bothered me.
Yeah,
because it's so poor quality, and it's the blacks are gray. It doesn't perform well in low light. That's always bothered me because I like to play like my Switch in the bed at night. But anyway, it excites me, but I could see why. Yeah, like you said, they may have some challenges marketing this to the masses. Like what's the value proposition?
What do they call it? Because it's too different. You can't just call it. I mean, I guess this is just the new Switch.
HD.
Switch HD. Well, no, that's not bad.
I'm gonna go with Switch HD.
That's not
you guys
bad.
haven't heard that they're gonna call it the Super Switch?
They're not actually.
Super Switch is next gen.
Better be.
Oh, okay.
It better be. Because what a waste of an awesome name,
I agree.
Yeah. All right.
Gotta save that alliteration for a big moment.
Exactly. All right. Yeah. As I mentioned already, the Switch turned 4 yesterday. Happy birthday, Switch! What a fun 4 years it's been. I'm a little salty sometimes, but I had a realization as I was playing Bravely Default 2 yesterday or the day before. I'm like, I gotta stop being so hard on this thing. I love this console. There's so much to play on it. I'm just being a big old baby. I need to stop. Be nicer to my Switch.
Love us, Nintendo Daddy.
Love us, exactly. Please love us, Nintendo Daddy. Any thoughts, reminiscing anybody wants to do about the Switch on its birthday?
I will always be thankful to the Switch because I hadn't. Yeah, I got the Wii early on, but then went to college and so basically missed the second half of the Wii. Never had a Wii U, and then the Switch is what brought me back to Nintendo, and it has. I mean, I will certainly say it has given me some of my not only like that great Nintendo nostalgia, but just kind of reminded me why I loved playing video games, especially because I've been playing so many of the Destinies and the Divisions and the competitive first person shooters, and those get you kind of forget that video games are just super fun sometimes, and the Switch reminded me of that, and I will be always thankful to it for that.
Yeah, it's magical how sometimes you start to, at least when I don't mind you saying that, but when I start to read other people's opinions or listen to them on podcasts, it's like, yes, we all know that everybody it reignited it, but it's like take a step back and it's like, wow, we're all saying the same thing, and it's Breath of the Wild was the same way. Like you get a lot of like grumpy people who think Skyrim is like the pinnacle of gaming. And I'm not making a joke against you two. I'm trying to make an actual point. People like, I don't understand. Open world games have been around forever. What's so special about Zelda? I'm like, I honestly couldn't tell you because A, I don't play them, and B, I just can't. But there's a reason everybody, even people who do play open world games all the time, still like this game more. Like it found something, and combined with the hardware and the novelty of it, and just how well it worked together with that game. It's like. It's trite and it's just a cliche, but it's true. Everything you said, Tron, everything you said, Sean, is just true for me as well. Tron. Jason.
This console's been very special to me. I got it when my son was born. It like Sean said, I mean, I did have a Wii U, but this not only got me back to Nintendo. I've always been a Nintendo fanboy. I had a Wii U, but this got me back to gaming kind of in general, like more into it than I had been in probably since high school. So, I mean, for that, I'm thankful. And then, my son's had some extended hospital stays over the last few years. And then like every time we've had to go in, you guys have always sent me a game digitally to kind of take my mind off of, and I really have appreciated that. So thank you both. And thank you to the Switch for letting me be distracted when I need to be distracted.
Happy birthday to you and many more.
But not too many more.
Not too many more before your cooler brother shows up his Super Switch. And then our last little bit of news. I took it out of the Minish Caps. Probably should have kept it in there, but I wanted to talk about it now here because I'm excited. And I love the idea of this game, and I want to play it now, and that's Diablo 2 Resurrected. I think we talked about it last week. It is going to get like an alpha or like playtest. It's going to get 2 of them, though. They announced specifically it's going to get a single player first. I don't know how long it'll last. Don't know when it'll happen. Presumably quite soon, because if they want to hit the end of the year, they got to start testing that soon. And then they'll have like a stress test multiplayer. Check out that netcode and see how it's going and working out. I'm signed up for it already. I guess I'm signed up for that single player one first, since that's what's coming out. Jason, are you signed up, and do you plan? Because I know sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to play it. But you also know.
On this one I have to.
Okay.
Because first of all, I know this game.
In and out. Exactly. Okay.
Right. So it's not like it's spoiling anything. And I'm just so excited. Like, this is a game I want to be in on. And yeah, I'm signed up for the alpha as well.
Cool. Yeah,
So,
I can't wait. And then, in the past, it's been pretty easy to get into. I've gotten into like at least 2, of the World of Warcraft betas, and I mean they check a bunch of things: your play history and your computer specs, which you submit when they take that information when you submit the alpha. I don't know if they did this time, but yeah, I'm excited, and I hope I get in. And I hope it's not just like the first act, or I hope it's like kind of longer, and maybe even let you carry character stuff over. Speaking of, this is why I remember now why I made it an actual news item. You'll be able to bring over your single-player local save characters from the original Diablo 2 and its expansion, which is crazy.
What?
Right? I know. Like if
do
you've been
either
playing,
of you have those save files?
I don't, because I've moved computers for like 700 times since.
Yeah.
Right.
But like somebody, people do. People were stoked about this news, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. because they, first of all, they have single player. They could have just like, oh yeah, it's a 1-to-1, but we're only going to do online, which is something everybody absolutely hated about D3, even to this day. But no, it's going to have a full offline single player, and you're going to be able to transfer your class. Like, talk about just doing everything they can. This is the most consumer-friendly game. I think, when we do our Game of the Year awards, we're going to do consumer-friendly, and I think Diablo 2 Resurrected's going to get it, unless somebody else just knocks it out of the park. But that's pretty exciting. Just as like a nice, yeah, we can do that. All right, that does it for the news. Sean, give us your Minish Caps.
All right, so first up in the Minish Caps this week is Epic Games has acquired Mediatonic, the developer of Fall Guys. So Fall Guys is now owned by Epic. Pyra and Mithra have launched on Smash Bros. Ultimate today. So if looking to check out those new fighters, you can head on over there. Also celebrating a birthday around this time is Stardew Valley turned 5 today. Right before actually I came up to film the podcast, I looked over and my wife was playing Stardew Valley and was working on the new content. So she is getting ahead of me on that. I'm gonna have to probably pivot to Stardew Valley soon. And in a blast from the past, the Wii U received its first firmware update today since September 2018. I'm guessing some critical vulnerability had to have been found in order to spur that. And I wonder what handful of souls at Nintendo was like, hey, by the way, we need to go dig into this old stuff and fix it real fast.
The one guy. It's just one guy.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the whole time. We could have had latency down even further.
Shovel Knight, fresh off of its crossover event with For Honor, has now partnered with Arby's for both toys and Arby's themed DLC, which I don't know what you're doing, Shovel Knight, but I have fun with it, man. Ratchet and Clank as a PSA is free to own as part of PlayStation's Play at Home initiative. So you don't even need PS Plus, PS Now. This is just a free game that if you own a PlayStation 4, you can go on and download the 2016's Ratchet and Clank. So
nope, not even.
Played it already.
You just need a PSN account. All you have to do is log into PSN and claim it there.
Yeah, that's. Oh, okay. So yeah, you just got gotcha. So you just got to make an account on PSN.
Mm-hmm.
If one day you think you might own a PlayStation.
Perfect.
And then Marvel's Avengers, the video game, has apparently decided that it hates itself and is begging to be put out of its mercy because it has increased the time it's going to take to level and the average time it'll take to acquire cosmetics, much to the hatred of, I assume, whatever handful of people are still playing that game. So probably time to go take Marvel Avengers behind the shed and call it a day.
I can't imagine what's going through their heads.
Who thought that was like, yeah, no, let's make it hard, like longer to level up. That'll keep our fans around.
And like according to apparently that the change will happen around like level 25. People say you don't even get to level like 20 by the time you finish the main campaign. And like I don't know. I can't talk about this other than it just baffles me. So that's why I stuffed it in here, because we could just go on and on about like this is dumb, this is dumb, this is dumb. But we don't play it either, So
moving on from that baffling news, Karch, do you have a PS5?
Oh, yes, I do. Sean, do you have an Xbox Series S?
I do!
Woo! We're next gen, baby! Because Jason's got his PC upgraded, and we've got Switches, and we've got... What's that?
So with his 3070.
His 3070, and yes, thank you, Walmart. It came through for both of us, for both of those consoles. Who knew it was going to happen? Yeah, I had listed Sean and Jason. It was funny. This is the first time it had ever happened so like early. Like the tweet came out 3 hours beforehand, right around noon my time, and it's like at 3 p.m. Walmart's going to have both. Well, at 3 p.m. Around this time, we'll say. There's going to be Xbox consoles and should be PS5 as well.
Oh yeah, there was a separate tweet that basically said at 2:30 Eastern time they would have Xbox consoles, and then at 3 they would have PlayStation.
Yeah, and so we set our clocks and we said, okay, we're going to try it. We're going to do this for Karch. And then Sean just kind of like flippantly gets an Xbox Series S right before he's trying to smash the button for the PS5. So that was like an uplifting moment right before that. I enlisted my wife. She was on my home PC. I was on my work laptop, and they did it in waves. And the first one was a failure. It was no. And was it the second one? I think it was the second one.
It was the second one for you, yeah.
Yeah, and I got in. There There was the link on like the actual product page, and there was the link. Apparently, there's like an actual direct like add to cart link, and I think that's the one that worked for me. Because what happened is I clicked it, and I got that waiting room thing that Walmart's thing has. It's like, okay, our traffic's way too high right now. We've shoved you over here so we don't just like crash our site. And that wasn't doing anything. So I went to my actual cart on a different tab, and it was there. And I was like, and I just like smashed on the button, clicking everything because I had set up my account.
You got lucky.
I did, dude. Like, and that's it. That's all it is. It's just a stupid dice roll. It's the worst D20 you've ever rolled in your entire life.
I had read somewhere going into it, someone was saying, "Hey, I've heard people having better luck with the app because it's more stable, and so you're less likely to get booted." So I downloaded the Walmart app onto my phone.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting here in like a leadership meeting with my phone beneath the table, just like waiting for the time. Same thing. I went for the Series X to start. And I didn't get the first round, and then the second one came through, and in that first round though, like I got to the page and I was able to click add to cart, but then it was like, nah, we're all out. But try again, and at 240, and so I loaded it back up at 240 as this meeting was wrapping up, and tried the X and got on that page immediately, and it was like, nope, we're sold out. Like just flipped back and then hit the S and hit the thing, and it popped in my cart, and I was like, oh my god! And I had already pre-programmed in like the the address and the payment method, so I just it was just click, and it was like, you have one, and I was like, oh god,
so good, so good. What was I was saying?
I have to say, in contrast, I did try really hard. And I'm on a 1 gigabyte connection. I was hardwired.
That's true.
I refreshed the page on the second, and I couldn't even get to the add cart button the first time. Then the second time I got to the add cart, I pressed the add cart. It prompted the CAPTCHA to make me prove that I'm a human. And
I would have just thrown my hands up.
It kept having me do it. It asked me like 4 times, and then it threw me out.
It thought you were a bot. At least it was doing something.
What?
I said I thought you were a bot. At least they were trying something.
And then the third time the same thing happened, and so I quit trying.
What blew my mind on my getting the Xbox was, I had enough time to go to the X's page, be like, oh man, it's sold out, and then navigate to the S page. I got an S, which meant that it had been 5-ish seconds delay, and I still managed to snag an S.
That's 5,000 milliseconds.
Yeah,
so many.
Yep. I snagged a disc version by accident. I thought I was on the digital page. I guess at some point during all my clicking, I was clicking the disc link or something, which is fine. A little, extra $100, but now I can sell my PS4 quicker, which is what I absolutely plan to do with 100% backwards compatibility. There's just no reason to keep this around. I have no nostalgia connected to this box. So I'll just clean it up and sell it once it arrives. It's a month. It's more than a month away for me. It's a little sooner for you, Sean. I know.
I've got mine's supposed to be in 3 weeks.
Yeah, and have you guys ever purchased a console that you didn't get right away? Because I've never done that. I've always gone to a store once I was finally ready to get it, even if that was like a couple years later.
Same.
Yeah. So
I ordered when I got my Switch, and this was several months into the Switch. I did order it off of it was a Legend of Zelda package set off of ThinkGeek. So that is how I got my Switch. But at the time though, I ordered it and it showed up a handful of days later. Not this.
Right.
I mean,
that I could live with,
later.
but this is going to be brutal. I am.
Wait.
Yeah.
Karch, did you say console?
What?
Yeah.
Console.
Did you say
yeah,
console? Oh, okay, yeah. So I did one time order a PSVR from GameStop, and that took 2 weeks.
That's fair, because that is totally a console.
I'm gonna intercept your PS5 and keep it now.
See, okay, thank you. Perfect segue. Because not only is it going to take forever, I'm so nervous. I can't imagine they cancel it like Target did. That was stupid. But like Jason said earlier,
I've repeatedly today brought the app back up and was looking at my order history, and it still says preparing your order, and I was like, okay, it hasn't told me they're not going to give me one yet.
I can't do that anymore though, because there are 2 giant ass cancel buttons on the there are 2 giant cancel buttons on the page, especially on the app. It would be so easy to accidentally click one. I'm like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that anymore. And I'm nervous that it's going to get canceled somehow. And then I'm nervous that it's going to get lost in the mail. And I've heard some horror stories that I don't know how true it is. I don't know how they proved it, but like a lot of people are like, I'm pretty sure FedEx, like the FedEx guy, swiped my PS5, and like I can't have that. I wish it was going to the store, because then it would just go to the store, and then like there'd be a chain of custody, and there would be a very clear like, no, I didn't pick this up, and I would raise the biggest stink if they were going to try to tell me this otherwise. But when it's just in the mail, it's like, ugh, and it's so long. So hopefully it comes sooner than April something, but I'm excited. It's going to get here before Returnal. I'll be in time for day one Returnal.
Is that the game you're going to get first, Karch?
I mean, I don't know. I guess there might be something I pick up just for fun, for I get something small and cheap, because
You
What?
said you were gonna play Final Fantasy VII with us in April, so you could just do the free upgrade. Play it on
that doesn't
PS5
happen
version.
until June though.
You could you just play Astra's Playroom.
Oh yeah, I mean obviously I will. Yeah, that comes
Love
with the
those
thing.
haptics.
Yep, get the feel for it. But like from what I hear, that's like a 3-hour experience at the most. So, but no, that'll be the very first thing I'll play, and I have no idea where I'm gonna put it though. Like it's so big,
It's
I don't know where I'm gonna
huge.
put it.
I just I went for the X, but I'm kind of happy I got the S, and for several reasons. But one of them is I don't have to completely restructure my entertainment center in order to put this thing in it.
Right.
It'll be. I mean, the Switch will be smaller, but I'm pretty sure the Series S is even tinier than the PS4.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's tiny. It's impressive.
It's one of the smallest modern consoles in the last like couple gens. I think it's a little bit bigger than the Wii.
Yeah.
I think that might be smaller, but we're excited. We're next
Sean,
gen. Can't wait.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Question for you. Sorry, Sean. What are you gonna do with your current console, and what's the first game you're gonna get for your Series S?
So what's likely going to happen is one of them is going to either my Xbox One will stay up here in the office for recording. Especially because like the
clever.
Messenger and all that. It doesn't matter what I play it on. I just need something up here, and the other one will go downstairs and play on the TV. Because and then. I part of me wants to say Skyrim, but also part of me doesn't want to sit there and have to download the mods and rejigger my mod setup to be able to run on the new console with the 60 FPS patches and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It'll probably just be something off of Game Pass. I'll go find something that I'm looking forward to playing off of Game Pass and download that. Maybe I'll grab some Monster Hunter World and finally get around to playing that. Or I did just download, of all things, I haven't played them, Elite Dangerous and Anthem. So if I don't get to them before then, maybe I'll download those onto my Series X or Series S and play those.
You're gonna have to be careful though, because that's the hard drive's pretty small in that. The SSD.
It is.
As far as like you may not want to put Skyrim on it at all. Just saying.
Skyrim's tiny.
Yeah, that's true. It is.
I heard it's really bigger on the Series S because of the texture packages.
But the Series S won't have that. The X gets the 4K patch. The S, though, since it is in a 4K machine, doesn't download the texture pack.
True.
Which is actually means
I'm surprised that exists because I made it up, but it probably does exist.
there is a 4K patch for Skyrim that came out with the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. And the modding community absolutely hates it because it really screws up the game.
Oh, that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So the Series S is actually the better of the two to play it on because it won't download that patch.
I'm now going to remove the segment from the dock. It's gone.
Yes.
Congratulations,
Did you unsubscribe
boys.
from all the Twitters?
Yes, I did. I did do that after a couple hours because I didn't get an immediate cancellation. Hopefully I don't have to. Oh my gosh, I'll just give up. If this gets canceled somehow.
I was going to say, do you want to leave that segment on the dock until it's in your hands just so we don't jinx it?
It's a new segment. Has it arrived yet?
Okay.
I'll edit it later. But yeah.
Okay.
We did it. Thanks for believing in me, friends.
What a quest.
Thanks for totally ditching you to go after an Xbox.
Hey, you were just killing time until the PS5 one launched. There are a lot of waves, though. I appreciate Walmart's style of doing things.
We should probably talk about it. I really did like the way Walmart did it, where they broke it up over, what was it, like three? Each of them was like 3 waves?
No.
The PS5 one was going to like
at least
420 or something.
Oh,
like
really?
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They had a lot of them.
The Xbox ones, like I saw 3 waves for that one before it just seemed like it was done.
Yeah, so what we talk about when we say waves, you go to the product page, before this, it says, oh, it won't be available until 3 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. that first wave, quote unquote, we all tried to get it, clicked it or refreshed, and it didn't go. And then once it briefly says, "Oh, this is out of stock," and then like half a second later, it's like, "Okay, this will be available again at 3:10," and it did that in 10-minute increments, like Jason said, apparently all the way till 4:20. Gave my friend at work the link too after I showed it to him, and he's like, "Man, I should be happy for you, but I'm not," because he really wants one too. But he's also not willing to put in the work that we did. We earned it, bootstrapped it.
Finally, this friendship from second grade is paid off.
It has in spades, in white. I can't. That's white. I don't like that. Oh well. I got it. I might play whatchamacallit on it. To answer your earlier question, Jason, I'll probably play God of War until it returns, since it has that PS5 upgrade, and all I have left are those combat things, so that'd be pretty fun to do that in before I get rusty again and going for that platinum trophy.
Good call.
Yeah. All
right. Who needs a drink break?
I need some water, yeah. All right, now it's time to talk about what you wish you were playing. Can I? Am I allowed this week?
Yeah, man. Go for it.
We want to hear it.
It's awesome. Sweet. I'm going to rename this segment, by the way. I don't know what yet, but by the next time I have something to bring to it, it'll have a new name, because it's more just about fun games that are coming up that we'll probably just never have time to play. And one of those fun games is this delightful, adorable little platformer called Here Comes Nico. The developer is Frog Vibes, and frogs is a theme in the game.
That is an amazing name.
Here Comes Nico?
No, Frog Vibes.
Oh, for the developer. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
I approve.
And it's being published by Gears for Breakfast. Gears for Breakfast did A Hat in Time, which was, met with a lot of critical acclaim for like a, indie collectathon style, similar, spiritually similar to the Mario 64s and the Banjo-Kazooies and so forth and so on. I unfortunately never played it because I want to play it on my Switch, but I'm told that version is bad because it was like originally on like Unreal 3, which doesn't work on Switch, and they had to do this whole port, and the port is really bad. So maybe they'll make a sequel that's more natively pleasing on that console. So anyway, back to Here Comes Nico. It's just super cute. It's got like this Paper Mario style where all the characters are like flat 2D little things. They look like paper cutouts. And, they run around and work in a... excuse me. They run around and operate in a 3D world, again, similar to Paper Mario. But it's not like there's an actual paper theme. That's not like a thing they're doing. It's just kind of how it is. And you're just this girl named Nico, and you get on a job on some island. You start working for a frog, and he's very humorous. He makes a lot of really awful puns. There's like all these little cute animal people, kind of, similar to the way that Animal Crossing is populated with a bunch of animal people, except you're the only human. And you just kind of, it's like the gameplay is clearly platformer for the most part. But the way they implement the platforming is different because, there's like little quests that you do. Like you're going to help them paint this thing, or you're going to go pluck these weeds, but the weeds are at this place that you got to jump to and get through. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a jolly good looking time. There's it's just a straight up Tamagotchi reference at one point, which I thought was hilarious. Like there's like this Tamagotchi Gigapet looking thing on the screen, and it's got like that old awful little, I don't even know which kind of display you call that, but it, those little toys, like just like the Tamagotchis did. It's got like an open space kind of thing, like a la Mario 64 or Odyssey, but it doesn't, at least on the trailer that I watched, doesn't scream like Collectathon. So it doesn't look like there's just like coins everywhere and stars and stuff. It very much seems like the idea is to complete these quests and make friendships with the villagers. I don't know how, that really works in mechanically with how progression works in the game, because that doesn't seem to be like, the super selling point. It just looks like a fun, cute art style, little platformer thing coming to Switch and PC.
Is it out already? Or when is it coming out?
No. I don't think it had a date yet. I don't even think it had like a window. But
this honestly sounds like a game I think my wife would really like, and I'm tempted to pick it up for her as a surprise when it comes out.
Oh, well, there you go. Little gift ideas. That's what we'll call this. We'll call this gift ideas
for us.
My wife is big on good puns, or rather bad puns. So
yeah, and it looks like it's gonna cross that line real well, because at one point like it does a zoom in on the frog face, and it has one of those like meme faces not like Troll Guy, but one like Troll Guy, like the Rage comics that used to be super popular. But like I think they're going to use it. Hopefully, they use it sparingly. Otherwise, it could become, overbearing. But it didn't seem like that was going to be the case. And the other game I want to look at, it actually came out today. It's called Loop Hero. This is the developer is 4 Quarters and the publisher is Devolver Digital. And it's hard to describe this game. It's an old, pixely looking game, like really old looking, very intentionally, obviously. And you're literally just kind of doing this, like your character's going through this loop, like a literal loop in a dungeon, and it just kind of autoplays itself. It's very similar to like those games you can play on your phone, where you just keep going through levels until you lose, and then you go back to the beginning, and you're just kind of like tapping on the screen maybe to progress it faster, and you just buy upgrades. But instead of being this, hot garbage that's designed to steal all your money, it's a well-crafted game with, probably tactical decisions to make, and the progression is fun, etc. And a lot of people, including Devolver Digital themselves, have been hyping this game up even as early as like last year. I think Devolver Digital was making a joke about how this was already going to be like their game of the year. And here it is. It's out to play. Unfortunately, it is only available on PC, so I'm definitely not touching this until they make the right decision and either put it on a phone, that'd be fine, or put it on Switch.
Sounds a bit like Super Mario Run almost.
Yeah, but with like less, like that has, the Mario
right
backbone, in which it's, you have to very timed taps and stuff, whereas this is just going to be like, you got to watch it and maybe look alive a little bit, but it's definitely different. And I watched somebody play like a beta of it on Easy Allies like a few months ago, and there was stuff you could do to like the actual like map, like you can make decisions or employ, a tool of some kind to like change it up a little bit to either make it harder but more rewarding, or make it easier and quicker, or something like that. So like I said, it's a super fun concept. It's like a really like micro-sized roguelike, like where you're not, it's not like you don't know where you're going. You don't have to like traverse anything like Hades style or any of the other many roguelikes out there, but it looks fun, and it's got a cool name, Loop Hero. It's exactly what it says on the box. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about what we've actually been playing. Jason, you got an interesting one here. Why don't you start us off?
Okay, so didn't play a ton this past week, mostly with my son, but I really wanted to show him that Demolition Derby game I was talking about last week, Wreckfest, on my PC. And so then we got on the Game Pass, and he was like, oh yeah, cool, car game, awesome, he loves cars. And I showed him, I started going through all the racing games that we could pick from on Game Pass, and I showed him the trailers to all of them, and he picked Forza Motorsport 7. So this game came out in 2017. It's interesting because I've never played this game before, and I don't really know. It doesn't seem like it is an ultra realistic simulator. There are some arcadey aspects to it. You don't have to follow the true rules of racing. But at the same time, like, it's pretty rigid compared to something like Mario Kart. So, there's a lot of flexibility in how much control you have over the car. And it's interesting that we could bring the steering and handling difficulty so far down in their customization that, like, it steered so well that Luke, my 4-year-old, could win races doing this.
Huh. Nice.
But he still has a degree of control, but, it will kind of auto-steer him on this path, and you kind of have to just control the gas and the steering, but it kind of does, like, the braking and keeping you, like, magnetized to this line of best fit for the course. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge racing fan, but Luke is, and so he wanted it. He loves it. He asked me to play it almost every single day since Friday. So we played a lot of that this weekend, and he doesn't even like to let me have the turn. But it doesn't. Honestly, he's better at this game than I am too. Even with the same steering handicap turned on, it's wild.
It's just because you became a master of Mario Kart, and now you've sacrificed your ability to play anything else.
Right. And yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Anything else?
Played some more Deep Rock Galactic. I don't have a ton to say about it, but it is still cool. It was on sale for $20 on Steam over the past weekend, and Tyler and I both bought it. So we're not playing on the Game Pass version anymore. But when I play with you guys, just for the sake of keeping it on a platform you already have, we can do.
Well,
we
that's
can do it on.
That's what I want
Game
to play
Pass.
because we found out that it's not only on Game Pass, but on Game Pass it'll cross-play with my Xbox, so we can
Right.
definitely play this. And I'm just saying, this is the D&D off week this weekend.
Ooh,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
If I can squeeze it in, I'm down.
totally. But anyway, Karch or Sean, let's hear from you. What have you been playing?
Everything I've been playing just indicates that I'm a dirty, dirty liar. So I talked about last week on how I was done with Titanfall 2. Immediately the next day, some of my friends were like, hey, we're playing Titanfall 2. You want to play with us? And I was like, yeah, no, I'll totally play with you guys. And then I played with them and I utterly dominated, which probably is indicating of how much the matchmaking is skewed due to the diminishing players. And I was in with a party of other people and it changed how they matchmaked us. So I played Titanfall 2 when I said I wasn't going to, and I had probably some of the best matches I've ever had. And then I played more of the Messenger, so I got another segment of the Messenger recorded. However, I failed to actually finish editing and post my second Messenger video.
Tut.
So I'm just terrible. Sorry, guys.
You're
right.
you're gonna get yourself
Phase
fired,
2.
dude.
Phase 2. No. If he fails next week, he'll get fired.
Okay.
So I promise to do better. What about you, Karch? What have you been playing?
I reached out in a moment of need. I said, "Hey, friends, I want to play Bravely Default 2, but I don't want to buy it, and I know it's bad for me." And you guys are like, "Don't do it, Karch." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Get that demo. It'll remind you how much you don't want to play it." So I downloaded the demo, and it did the exact opposite.
Oh.
You guys are terrible advice givers. So I bought and downloaded Bravely Default 2. And you know what?
Well,
so far, I've actually been having a really great time. Like, I'm going to get this out of the way first. It is technologically unforgivable. Like, it is not okay that this game looks the way it does and runs the way it does. Not to say that, like, it's unplayable by any stretch, because it's not, but, like, we're talking about, this is a Switch game, and it looks like just barely better than a 3DS game. Especially considering like the source material, like the concept art is so good, and monster designs are pretty decent. Like the creative vision behind it is good, but then the character models just look bad, just awful, like soulless eyes with no expressions in the faces. Like we need and I get that this is supposed to be kind of like their quote unquote budget series off to the side, but it's also been forever since we've had one, and I just wish it looked better. It doesn't have to look much better, but it could look better.
do you think that it's possible that this started out as a 3DS project and then that it went through some development woes and is just now getting out, and that's why it doesn't look
it's possible.
much better?
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, we don't really ever hear about. Well, this is Square, right?
Yes, this is Square Enix and their internal studio.
Okay, so never mind. I was gonna say you don't really hear about turmoil from inside Nintendo development studios first party, but
Right.
But anyway, that's not a factor here. But yeah, I mean, interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, but it's not, like I said, it's not an insurmountable hump to get over. But especially if you like this kind of stuff or you like the previous Bravely Default games. So yeah, that is my only major complaint, if at all. And so I will get into the fun stuff. Bravely Default 2, sequel to Bravely Default. You do not have to have played the first two games because there is a Bravely Second, which is a direct sequel. It's a whole thing. But it is a classic turn-based JRPG. You've got 4 characters. It is job-based, and we've talked about job stuff on this podcast before, but basically that means that you get to pick your class on the fly, not in battle, but outside of battle. And then as you fight battles, you gain experience points to level up your character, but also your job. And as you level up your jobs, you get new abilities associated with that job. So white mages will get different kinds of healing spells, and black mages will get different kinds of damage spells. And they call it a vanguard in this one, but basically it's a knight, and they are a melee tanky-ish class. You've got your monk, who is pretty much completely oriented around doing as much damage as possible. and they use their hit points as like a resource instead of mana points for the most part. And then as you defeat the bosses, they hold these little things called asterisks. The asterisks are actually the power that controls whether or not you have the job. And so that as you beat more bosses, you get the job. And so I just beat the Beastmaster earlier yesterday or late yesterday. And so now I have that, which is kind of like the it's like a pseudo blue mage. I haven't actually gotten a chance to use it, but the idea behind that class is, in addition to being themed around monsters, you actually capture monsters when they're on low health, a la Pokemon, and then you add them to your your menagerie, I guess, and then however that plays out with that class, you'll get to presumably use those monsters in some way. Again, this is all old hat if you've ever played a game like this, or specifically Bravely Default 2, because it's the same thing. And the characters are about as, cliche as it gets, but in a really good way. Like, I was worried the way people were talking about the story, they're not doing it quite justice. It is very by the numbers. It is, your basic 4 heroes of light. There's these, 4 different crystals for air, earth, fire, water, and they're all going out of crazy, and there's bad guys and they want to do bad things, and it's very mustache swirly, but the voice acting is really well done. You got a lot of accents. Like this would be good homework for our D&D group, because there's a lot of they're not bad, but they're not great. They're clearly like American people doing like an Australian accent at one point. British accents, Scottish accents, some kind of Irish, I'm not really sure. Russian accents, old man accents. They're all over the place, and I love it. I love how many accents there are, because it really kind of, I just got to I've been in like an Agrabah kind of place for a while. It's in the middle of a desert, but ironically is flooded because the water crystal's going haywire. But most people, but not everybody, have a Middle Eastern accent, but some people just don't, and some people have a brownish skin, but some people don't. It's a very varied game. They put a lot of thought, it seems, at least in the localization part, and then in some of the character designs. So yeah, it's fun from a gameplay standpoint. It plays while I sleep. And what I mean by that is sorry?
What?
I know, exactly. It plays while I sleep, and I love this. This is really clever. So the first game had the main character came from a town that was destroyed right off the gate. He's the last sole survivor. And so there's this kind of pseudo side quest thing where you're trying to rebuild that town. I don't know why, because everyone is dead except you, but you're trying to do it anyway. Whatever. And it was a street pass thing. So while your 3DS was asleep and you would potentially street pass people, those two things would combine and basically progress the town forward. And then you would get rewards, almost always item based. And then that was just a fun little thing that would happen while the game was in sleep mode. They brought that concept back. The main character is a sailor. He washed up on a shore completely, some storm destroyed his ship. He actually died, and then one of the crystals resurrected him, which is interesting. I feel like that's going to play a bigger part later, but...
Story of my life.
So he's a sailor, and at one point he meets another NPC who runs like a merchant ship company kind of thing. And she's like, hey, will you, use your sailing expertise? And he's like, sure. So basically what you do is you start this exploration, and then while the game is on but your Switch is asleep, for up to 12 hours, this exploration will continue. When you come back, you'll get loot. Usually it's consumable items of some kind, like potions and Phoenix Downs and stuff, but it also has things, they're basically just experience points. You can use it to give your characters experience points or job points, which is really, really cool, because there's 20 jobs, I think, by the end. I don't even have half of them yet. But a lot of the fun in the game like this is trying out the jobs. Well, grinding can be kind of a huge pain. Well, look no further. We have these job point orbs that you can get when you're not even playing the game. So you can keep playing as the Black Mage, but if you really want this passive ability from another class, just switch over real quick, give them the item, and then, bump up the job until you get it. And cool. It's a really fun time saver in what, you're going to go to bed at some point. So turn it on, go to bed, leave it on sleep, and then you're going to get your rewards when you wake up and then and play it the next day.
This actually reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Oh, yeah?
The pirate one had a mechanic like this where because eventually you kind of became like a pirate lord, and so the ships that you actually boarded, you could keep them and man them with your crews. And then it had a mechanic where you could then send them off on missions. Now, I think all you ever really got out of it was, there were some like crafting materials like you get out of it. It was mostly gold. It wasn't anything that leveled you up, but you did have this ability to essentially send off your ships to go and, go off on. And basically, the idea was you were running blockades or you're raiding British fleets or something that allowed you to, as this side method of going on in the background. I think it was only in the background while you were playing the game. But it was still that it sounds like a somewhat similar mechanism.
Yeah, it's not the first time I've ever seen this done in a game. Fable 3 did it. World of Warcraft actually had something similar too. So,
good on Square for not charging for this, because I could see, famously Assassin's Creed Odyssey had an implementation of something that could level you a little faster, but you had to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I could easily see something like, giving job points or maybe other abilities as kind of like a way to help you avoid some of the grind. I guess they know their target audience, because that's kind of part of JRPG is the grind, but
right.
But yeah, at the same time, it seems like a fun mechanic to help speed some of this along for someone who's not looking to sink 90 hours into a game.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the day, the grinding isn't that bad, but it's nice to have it.
Now, how does, because so I played the first demo that came out and just it was not feeling the game. Was the demo a poor representation of the game?
I guess so, because I didn't like it very much either. I think this game just does a better job of easing you into it at the beginning of the game, and even now too. They've added this new feature that didn't exist before. You basically have like a you have your 4 main party members. You're never going to have more than that, but you do have this kind of like pseudo 5th party member, and it's clearly always going to be this character that's like accompanying you on this particular leg of the story. So in the beginning, it was like the princess character has like an old knight who's, like their kingdom was destroyed and they're all each other have, and they're trying to fulfill their duties to the crystals or whatever. And so what would happen is my characters would all attack or do whatever. They take their turns. And then that guy gets a turn. I don't get to control him. He can only do one of 2 things, which is attack or heal. And then eventually he goes away, and then somebody else comes in, and he does 2 different kinds of attacks in which he lowers their physical defense or their magical defense, depending on, the scenario. And it's kind of smart about which one. He never healed me. The other guy never healed me when I was topped off. He only attacked. But he actually would revive me too, which was really useful. And so that's like this training wheel that did not exist in the demo.
Okay.
And probably was always going to exist in the main game, but they just didn't have it in the demo. And the beginning is much more just, it ramps you up nicer. The boss fights in Bravely Default have always been hard as nails, because it really, really, and I totally forgot to mention this, takes advantage of the Brave and Default system, whereas the main, scrub battles, the random encounter, well, they're not random, but the encounters that you do out in the dungeons and out in the overworld are for the most part pretty simple to get through, unless you make a mistake or you're in an area that's too hard to fight. But yes, Bravely Default gets its name from its combat system, which, in addition to being a turn-based RPG, also has this default and brave system. So in most RPGs, you can choose to defend and just take less damage on a turn. And when you do that in Bravely Default, you basically bank an extra turn. You can call that a brave point. And then later, you can use that brave point to do 2 things on 1 turn. The number of brave points is, you don't have any at the beginning of a battle unless certain circumstances are met, and you can bank up to 3. So basically, I can take 4 actions on 1 turn and then get to go my next turn like normal. Or I can go into a deficit. So if I have none and I use 3 brave points, I go to -3, which is cool because now I still get 4 actions on 1 turn, but all subsequent turns until I get back to 0, I don't get to do anything. And then you're kind of a sitting duck. So if you go all in too early or too fast or too hard with all your characters, the boss is just going to destroy you. And they can do the same thing. So it's a mechanic that they will use to great effect as well. And you have to do this kind of back and forth dance. And it's a lot of fun. And there's abilities that either cost brave points in addition to just your regular turn. They affect brave points by giving them to another player or taking them away from an enemy. And so there's a lot of strategy involved beyond the usual, this guy's weak to lightning, shock him with it, and that kind of stuff.
That
But I'm
sounds
having a lot of
really
fun.
interesting.
It
I
is.
like that. It almost seems like a more refined. I don't want to use that term, but it seems like it could have benefited a game like Octopath.
Octopath had that. It had a version of it. Yeah, like you.
Right.
So, like you said, I would call it that. I would call Octopath a simplified version of it because I remember thinking.
I don't think you could go into a deficit.
I think you're right. I think you had to. You just kind of like
you had to earn them, and they
Mhm.
called them breakpoints, I believe.
something like that. But yeah, it was the same
It
idea.
just reminds me, it's adding that extra bit of that extra wrinkle that adds some depth to what is a very traditional combat style. It's probably, Child of Light. Its combat
Mhm.
was fairly standard, but then it had that little the order line, and if you hit people
Yeah.
at the right time, you could reset them, and therefore you could kind of roll people, and you could set things up with, I'm gonna pick guys who go through that really quick, and then I can use them to actually, they're not strong, but I can basically stop the enemy from attacking.
Yep.
So
yeah, that was a really
does sound
clever way to
interesting.
handle it. Mhm. Yeah, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm still very early on. It has a lot of side quests, and not the good kind. I don't like these kind of. I'm doing them because I haven't gotten bored of them yet, and they are beneficial. But eventually, I will become irritated with them, and I'll just stop doing them. Some of them are good, and they have actual main character moments. Where they start to flesh them out a little bit, because I tell you what, there are parts of this game where I'm like, they can't possibly think that this is good. They have to know, right? But it's really subtle. Like at one point, so you got a princess character, you've got your amnesiac, you've got your scholar who's just thirsting after knowledge. He's the Scottish guy who's always wanting to go to a pub for a drink, which is really fun. And then you have the random chick who's just kind of with him. He hired her as a mercenary. And at one point she's like, also, we have to find my long lost sister. He's like, oh yeah, how could I have forgot about that? That is literally how they introduced that plot line. And they haven't brought it up since. And I'm like, what? That has to be intentional. Like, they have to know that how hokey that sounds because it's so classic. Thankfully nobody's a pervert yet. I don't know what it is with Japan and having to introduce a character who wants to look up people's skirts or get people in skimpy outfits, but because the Bravely Default 1 had that, and it was for the most part pretty playful. He was just kind of he wasn't a lech, he was just more a bumbling romantic. But so far none of that in this game, which I always approve of. Keep perverts out of JRPGs. Ding.
Do you have an idea how long of a game it's
No
supposed to be?
No idea.
Okay.
Probably 50, anywhere between 40 and 60 hours, judging by most JRPGs.
Okay.
And the other one was long. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think I'll finish it. I don't see why I won't, unless it takes me I feel like I should be able to finish this before Monster Hunter comes out, which is my next big game. So that's all I got. All right. Now
Drink break.
Drink break. Sorry. All right, let's go ahead and get into the topic of the week. This one's been in the making. We had some interruptions. We wanted to get to this the last 2 episodes, but we weren't able to. And that is Xbox Game Pass a good value? Now let's go ahead and go through some stats real quick. Price per month. The ultimate version is $15, and that includes Game Pass for PC, Game Pass for Xbox, as well as, I believe, EA Access. Is that correct?
It does, as
All
well
right.
as
And,
Xbox Live Gold.
And then, yes, finally, Xbox Gold /
And
Live.
Xcloud, which is essentially the streaming. I don't know that if you get that if you don't.
I believe you are correct. I don't think you can get that any other way. So, and then, so finally, yes, Xcloud, which is currently just on phones, but it is coming to Xbox consoles and PC eventually. And so there's that. You get a lot of stuff for $15. You can also, there are $5 tiers for just Xbox or $5 tiers for just PC. PC, I don't think you need live to play with
they're
anybody.
I'm sorry. I thought they were $10.
Oh, sorry, my bad. $10. Frequently, though, they are on sale or discount for at least 1 or 3 months, where you can get it for $1. That, of course, is limited and is not long term. Gigantic library. All of Xbox first-party exclusives are always available there, day and date. So that's cool. And there's a huge thing of first-party. They've acquired third-party as well, with EA participating. I think maybe, are there any Ubisoft games on there?
I don't
There
believe
has been in
so
the past, because I know The Division was on there for a time.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. Actually,
Some of the Assassin's Creeds have shown up on there.
All right, so a little bit of partnership
But
from there too.
I wonder if they've been on there since Ubisoft launched their own subscription service.
Probably as long as the contract says they had to, and I'm sure at some point they will take it off. So let's start with Jason. Is Game Pass a good value? What is a good value in gaming these days?
That's a really good question. I mean, I'm always of the mind, like anything else, and I think I said this about the PlayStation VR 2. It comes down to software for me. At the end of the day, I mean, a lot of this stuff is nice to have. Like, it is nice to have, the games with gold membership. It is nice to have the game streaming. But at the end of the day, like, what at its core, what games are available to you, and I think we have to contrast this with other offerings. I think the most analogous is probably PlayStation Now. But even compared to that, I mean, I think it's at least comparable, but I honestly give the edge to this, even with that pricier price point.
Gotcha.
What about you? Yeah, I was going to say, let's get Sean's thoughts, because I'm curious now.
Okay, so, Game Pass being $15 a month breaks it out to $180 a year. You can probably get gold, like I have for years before I went to Game Pass, for $60 a year. And so gold being live, the ability to play with your friends. So really, to me, Game Pass breaks down to $120 a year is what I'm paying for Game Pass. Jason, you brought up PS Now. So PS Now is $10 a month or $60 a year if you buy it in a year bundle. But then you also still need to get PS Plus, which is PlayStation's online feature, and that's another $10 a month or $60 a year. So if you're buying both of those in basically in a year bulk, you're only $120 a year to get essentially all of the comparable services, with the exception of things like Xcloud. And so, I mean, to your point, the game debate becomes a little bit different. Without a doubt, the exclusives that are on there. I mean, Sony, as we've talked about plenty of times, and I think everyone acknowledges, has the better first party titles than Microsoft does. And so you do get access to a lot of those, but you also, I mean, with Game Pass, you're talking about games going all the way back to the Xbox. I mean, I used Game Pass a while back. KOTOR's not on there more, but I played KOTOR. I played several Xbox games and Xbox 360 games, and then all the way up to Xbox One games via Game Pass, which has been really nice. And I know PlayStation allows that to an extent, but the backwards compatibility is not quite as prolific as it is on PS Now compared to Game Pass.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I also want to add that this is anecdotal, but it seems like Sony rotates their first-party titles out quicker.
They don't.
Microsoft.
The first-party titles don't leave Game Pass.
No,
and they're day of. When Halo Infinite launches this fall, I will be able to get on Game Pass and download it onto my console and play it without which you're never going to get that, or at least obviously you don't right now, and I highly doubt Sony's ever going to do that, where the day God of War 2 comes out, it's going to drop on PS Now, and you won't have to pay $60 for God of War.
It's so crazy. What you just described is the dream that Game Pass has been selling for almost 2 years now, that hasn't made good on yet. Like, the idea of a Halo quality title dropping on Game Pass and being playable right then and there, as long as you have the subscription, and yet it's still Halo specifically, as as the example. And then unfortunately, because they just don't have a lot of like heavy hitters in their repertoire.
What about Outer Worlds? Okay, that was our game of the year.
But I didn't play. Oh, I did play it on Game Pass.
Yeah, you did, and it was available day and date. Thank you very much.
It was.
And
Gears. I mean, Gears would be really the only other big name Microsoft title. Gears 5 dropped day of. But no, I mean, and that to me, for your average person, that's going to be the layman. The debate at all times is Game Pass really worth it when Microsoft doesn't really have the first party titles, but at the same time, certainly maybe not Ultimate, but talk about that value of just on the PC. I mean,
Very.
$10 a month for so many games, and then and then you upgrade the ultimate. Now you're looking at, even if you just have a, my laptop, I'll be able to eventually be able to play Xbox Series X games streamed to my laptop, and that's that to me, that's going to be absolutely amazing.
True.
Plus, they're getting a lot of sports games. Like 2K
Yeah, I noticed that.
21 is coming to Game Pass, I
Yep,
believe.
that's the
I
one.
assume that has a lot to do with the EA partnership.
Yeah. Well, but does EA doesn't publish? That's Take-Two, right? 2K.
Yeah.
But Madden, I believe Madden is coming, and so yeah, I think that's the EA partnership. But I mean, looking to the future, they're gonna have they bought Bethesda, so they're gonna have the Bethesda thing. They've purchased a couple other studios.
Well,
I think looking
you
to
mentioned Obsidian. I mean, and Obsidian's got eventually, who knows when, but eventually we'll get Avowed,
right,
which looks like if it's a fantasy version of equally high quality and storytelling and world building, all that, as Outer Worlds was, that's going to be it's almost getting to the point where those large Western RPGs, it seems like Microsoft may have a lockdown on them.
which is right on my alley. I mean, and just the last thing I'll say about it, because I do want to hear Karch's thoughts. I know you and I have kind of been jumping in, but there's a reason why PlayStation Now has approximately, last reported as of May 2020, 2.2 million subs, and Game Pass as of January 2021 has 18 million. So it's literally 9 times as big. And I think there's a reason for that. I think that's the market speaking that, this is a better deal, period. This is a better value.
Yeah, I mean, and to go back to my original math, so $180 a year, $60 off for live, $120 a year. I mean, you're looking at, are there 2 AAA games that are going to come to Game Pass? I mean, with Microsoft's track record, maybe not, but most years I've gotten at least one really big AAA game that I want to play. And then, I've played so many indies that and some of them I'm just dabbing my feet in, checking them out. No, I don't like that, but but enough indies that's like, I would have bought enough $15, $20 indies to justify that remaining $60. And I've played more and tried out new types of games, because it's like, I'll download that. Especially, you sit there and you're like, hit a download, come back an hour later when this little 12 gigabyte game is, when I've finished eating dinner or whatnot, little games downloaded and tried out a game. And I haven't liked all of them, but it's that freedom to sit there and be able to be like, I'm going to try that, because I'm not having to drop the money in it. I've already dropped the money in Game Pass, and I'm getting probably my value out of it. But now it's actually helping to expand my gaming horizons a little bit, which is nice.
Okay, Sean, you speak of freedom.
Dude.
But when I subscribe to Game Pass, when I sit down to my PC and open the client, I feel enslaved. I feel beholden to this subscription. I don't like subscriptions. They throttle me. I love the idea of GameFly, or I loved, in the past. I've had to drop it several times, though, because their libraries were way bigger than both of these. And yeah, it was snail mail and it was physical content, blah, 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 blah. But the concept of pay something a month and have, quote unquote, unlimited access to games is like, there's no actual discussion about the value of Game Pass. This is value is in quotes here, gigantic fat quotes, because obviously it's an amazing value. But there's this elephant in the room, I feel still. I feel like even though they've got PS Now beat, 9 times over, there's still this elephant in the room of they're trying to prove themselves, both to their company. Like I said, I have a feeling that there might be numbers being crunched behind the scenes, and Microsoft is still maybe in the beginning stages of this, and it hasn't necessarily proven itself out. I might be totally off, I don't know. But I feel like even in the industry and podcasts and yahoos like us and people talking on Reddit and Twitter, it's just maybe for people could, it sounds crazy, but people might turn on Game Pass on a dime. It's just not good enough because Uncharted 5 was just so good. Who cares about Game Pass when Uncharted, one game could just knock out this amazing library? And not literally, most people wouldn't unsubscribe. I would, and I did. I unsubscribed because I was like, I'm not playing it. I don't want to stream to my phone right now. I don't want to be on my PC. And so for me right now, there is no value good enough because I'm still wasting $15. Like, I'm not getting anything out of this right now. I'm about to resub so we can play the dwarf mining
Deep
sci-fi
Rock
game,
Galactic.
Deep Rock Galactic, and that's going to be a lot of fun and totally worth $10 to play with my friends, even if that's the
There's a
only
deal
game I
right
play.
now. You can get it for $1. I just did it.
I can resub again for $1?
Yep. I've done it twice.
Huh,
If you
interesting.
are unsubbed for like at least a month,
Yeah.
then it seems your account is eligible for whatever new customer promotion they're touting.
Well, that's Neato Burrito.
Yeah.
But
I
Karch,
did have to.
I definitely get where you're coming from. Part of this maybe too. I've been subscribed to Xbox Live, paying
Right.
my $5 a month for since I've owned an Xbox 360. So maybe I've just become dulled to this to that money disappearing periodically. But at the same time, my gaming with the preferences are definitely shifting to more the indie scene and less to the AAA. Which is one reason why the Switch has been so successful. I mean, you look at earlier this year, I was playing Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. I love that game. That game, was a great 30-hour experience. And Game Pass gives me easy access to try to find those games with very low risk.
Yeah, for sure. Like I remember I got to try out Spiritfarer. I never ended up buying it on Switch, but it's on my it's on my wish list and in my short list as far as fun, easygoing Stardew type kinds of games. And I would have been hesitant to pull. I think it was $30 new. I'm sure it's on sale at this point, but it was really nice to be able to kind of like I was still paying for it through Game Pass, but yeah, the try and buy aspect is very hard to turn down because I don't know. There's just something about like it sounds stupid. And it sounds crazy, and so much of it does have to do with I don't want to play at my PC, and that's the only way I can play. And streaming's just not quite good enough, like on almost all the kinds of games that I do want to play.
Yeah.
But I'd rather buy it. I don't necessarily want to buy it at full price, but like I'd rather pay just a little bit more to know that it's mine. And I guess this is the shifting goalposts of the physical versus digital. Now it's now I own the digital versus streaming, and who knows what it'll be even like 5-10 years down the line. But that's like I guess I'm the old man in this scenario where like I just want to own my digital game.
Which is hilarious because my biggest hesitancy on getting a Series S was because I wasn't sure I wanted to get rid of the disc drive.
Right.
Because like my big AAA games, I still prefer to own physically. But these indie games that I'm gonna beat and then I'm gonna walk away and I'm never gonna play this game again, and I'm never gonna feel the urge to play again. Sakuna Rise and Ruin, I beat it. Not going back. I will never feel an urge to go back and play that game.
Yeah.
And so streaming, these games where I download them and they may one day disappear from Game Pass and I can't re-download them, just does not matter to me.
Yeah, see, the funny thing is like that's not even what I'm afraid of. It's very hard to quantify with me. It's very hard.
I agree. I mean, I literally just did the same thing with Deep Rock Galactic because I may not want to stay. It goes both ways. They may remove Deep Rock Galactic from Game Pass. Okay, well, there goes my save unless I want to pay for it on that platform. What I don't, I like when I buy a game, I like to buy it on Steam. And there was a Steam sale, and there's something appealing about like, okay, let's say I'm not subbed to Game Pass, but Tyler and I want to fire up Deep Rock Galactic. Well, now my save file is tethered to my Game Pass subscription. So, if I want to remain unsubbed, I don't want to have to subscribe for one game that, I might come back to over and over and over again. To Sean's point, I think, Game Pass is great for games that you're just going to play one time through and then be done with it. But if you're going to return to it, then, buy it.
Do you guys think that this is permanent? Or is there a chance this goes away? Is there a chance Game Pass is somehow unsuccessful? Like, again, it goes back to my comment before.
You talked about how you thought Microsoft was. I think Microsoft is all in on this. I think this is what Microsoft views as their gaming future.
Okay.
I agree. I don't think there is a chance that this fails in the terms of like the way Google Stadia has essentially failed. But I do think there is a risk that it becomes not the value that it is now. I think it's almost honestly a certainty that once they have enough of an established base that they're happy, what's their incentive to have something this great and offer it for such a great price? I mean,
Right.
really, they are just they're doing the Netflix thing. How long was Netflix? $5 a month.
Really long time.
Forever, and then it was 10 the next year, and
Now
then it
it's
was
like
15 the
13.
next year,
Yeah.
and then if you want it on more than 5 screens, it's an extra 3, and now it's going up another $2, and if you want to do it in 4K, that's another $3, and now all of a sudden you're paying $22 a month for Netflix, and you're like, what the hell? I thought this was $5.
But that's where they want to be. They want to be the Netflix of gaming.
Exactly, and they're following that to a T.
You're right. If this jumps to $20 a month, yeah, I'll have to rethink whether or not I'm getting enough value out of this, because that's quite a bit more right now. The equivalency of 2 AAA games a year, and then also because I'm taking out the live out of that. That's pretty easy math. I have high confidence that each year I get my money's worth out of that. But yeah, it goes up too much more, and yeah, you're right. But they're gonna have built up enough, and they're gonna be the name everyone knows.
Exactly.
Even if they, the same way with Netflix. Netflix, I'm sure lost people, but not enough for it to matter.
And that's
Right.
when they hit that point in subscriber base, you better believe they will be testing that stupid supply-demand curve that we all learned in high school econ. They're going to find out where the intersection is, and they're going to raise the price until they get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they tried doing that with gold, and that didn't work.
Oh,
That's true. Probably too much of a jump.
To Game Pass.
Yeah, that was the ultimate goal, and they just kind of botched that. That was just that was a forced error right there.
Yeah.
Or unforced. I always get those backwards. I don't know why. So Sean, you just alluded to it. $20 is already enough to make you think. So how much is too much for what we have now? And then how much more would they need to put in? Like what is worth $20? What is worth $25? Because games as a whole has always been a more expensive hobby, medium, entertainment thing than.
I mean, part of it's going to come down to like how long does EA Access stick around? Because like Squadrons, Squadrons came out this past holiday season.
Right.
Is now it was on EA Access you got limited playtime. I think next month they announced it's coming to Game Pass.
Yeah,
You're looking
coming
at
to
6
console
months delay for a major, maybe not a major because it was a $40 game, but
Right.
A
Star
very
Wars.
recent AAA release. But is that going to stick around? And then I think part of it's really going to come down to Microsoft. I think we all are interested to see over the next couple of years what does their AAA calendar look like.
I'm sorry not to cut you off, but I personally think that they are going to eventually have to adopt a model like you see Sling use or like you see Amazon Luna use, and that is you kind of pay for these channels as a bolt-on. So your core might be the $15 a month, but then you add on the EA package, and that's an extra $5. Or you add on the Ubisoft package, that's an extra $5. You can always
that implies that we just talked about how Ubisoft now has their own service. Is EA? Did EA run the math and say, yeah, we'll pair with Game Pass because we hope when we leave Game Pass, some of the Game Pass subscribers will come with us. Yeah,
I don't know, man,
this implies
because
that Microsoft almost becomes the gateway for all online game streaming.
I think that's what they want. And if you look at what Amazon Luna is doing, like Ubisoft has a channel on Luna, even though they have their own standalone streaming service. So I think to some of these companies, it's not necessarily an all or nothing. It's let's get our games out to as many people as we can, as long as we're maintaining, we're making money where we want to make money.
Money and engagement too. You want people playing your games just in general.
So I do think that's probably the model that they'll eventually adopt. And that way you do get like the people who are core Microsoft. I just subbed to this for the exclusives and the indies and the one-off AAA, AA games that we get on here. But then if I wanted to go play a couple months of, The Division 3, I just sub to the Ubisoft channel for however long I want to and then drop it off. But I always keep my core Game Pass subscription.
Yeah. This doesn't seem to have moved the needle or lit a fire under the butts of PlayStation or Nintendo, for that matter. And we've talked about two other huge publishers in Ubisoft and EA. They already had similar services. Do you see the other two console platforms like trying anything like this anytime soon? Because I'm thinking no. Because Nintendo's Nintendo. And it's just how they
Nintendo's
is.
Nintendo, and the answer is no, as much as I would love to have a service where I could play all of Nintendo's backlog.
Oh my gosh.
Of just first-party games.
Amazing.
I mean, I think this falls in the same vein that Sony is comfortable where they are dominating the console war in the manner that they have, which is what has somewhat forced Microsoft into this new world.
Mm-hmm.
But Microsoft is. I mean, you talk about 18 million subscribers. Now, let's say let's just for the sake of argument say that's only all of them are doing the $10 option. I mean, that's $180 million a month.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money coming into Microsoft.
And presumably money that wasn't coming in before, because honestly, what were people buying? Except the occasional.
No, it's not all money because they got to pay the contracts to the various developers and all there. But they have found beyond just getting people to buy to buy off of their marketplace another a way to build a reliable income stream.
Mm-hmm.
I have to imagine that Sony is interested in making that money, which if they weren't, I don't think PS Now would exist. But I just don't think, if I had to guess, the higher ups at Sony, they're interested in money, but they're just not, they're not dedicated, because they are in a dominant position. They don't want to take they're hesitant to take the risk to go do this other thing and try to go win in this other market that admittedly they're already very behind on.
Yeah, even though they started earlier. And it's clear they have like the infrastructure, and Sony has connections. You wouldn't think it would be too hard to pivot, because PS Now was originally a streaming thing, but it also has a large number of downloadable games, and I think you mentioned that earlier, Sean.
Yeah, it does. It's got 400 you can download.
Essentially, it is Game Pass. It is its own version of Game Pass, but it markets it horribly, and the games available are clearly not good enough to even really get people talking, because again, that version of PS Now was around before Game Pass, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Right. Well before. I played it right after Sony purchased Gaikai. It was about 2015.
And that might be the thing, is that within the Sony corporate structure, it because it was always kind of this secondary thing. Their mentality is I won't say incapable, but certainly is not set up to easily pivot to seeing what they could do with it. Now, if in a couple years, Sony tanks, on a couple of their first party games, and it turns out all these studios Microsoft buys all come out and hit major hits, and the Xbox becomes the console to own because it has the best exclusives, maybe Sony does pivot to this because they need, same way Microsoft has, they need to find another way to boost their revenue streams because they're not doing so well in the consoles.
Yep.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think Sony is going to be dominant in the consoles and with the first parties. But,
they haven't lost a console race since the PlayStation. Or ever, actually, since their introduction.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But that is a topic for another show.
It is. My final thoughts on this is that Game Pass is obviously a good value. And it's such a good value that it has made me a lifelong Nintendo/Sony fan, but pretty not vehement in an angry way. I don't hate Xbox, but it's always been no, I'm not getting an Xbox. That's silly. I get PlayStation and I get Nintendo. But for the first time ever, I was like,
I feel attacked.
That Series S and X is looking pretty good right about now. But then I get brought back over. I just play God of War. I don't know anything about Ragnarok, and I'm just playing. I'm killing ravens. I'm doing the dumbest part of that game, but I'm still having such a good time that I couldn't possibly give up. I don't have to give up, but it's hard. There's something to be said about, your mental focus and the bandwidth you have in your brain and your heart, even, for so many things. I can't divide my attention like that. And so in the Sony camp, I shall remain. And thus the value is $0 for me.
I agreed with literally everything you said until that last sentence.
I was just being
Get
stupid.
out of here.
I was just being stupid.
Good.
It's my bread and
I know
butter.
it.
My bread and butter.
Sean, any final thoughts on this?
I do want to just quickly go back to the question Karch asked earlier, which was, when does this become not valuable for you?
Oh,
And
yeah,
I will say, I think $15 a month is pretty much the sweet spot right now. I think $20 a month would be too much. Could I maybe tolerate an 18 or something? Yeah, probably, because just the way numbers are and the way our brains are stupid. But if this hits $20 a month, I probably walk away from it and then become almost an exclusive Nintendo player, because, like I said, Game Pass for me, in addition to, I like the idea of being able to get the first party, but it's an easy way for me to play indies. And if I lose, and $15 a month is worthwhile for that. If you take that away from me, I'm just gonna go play all my indies on the Switch, which is honestly my preference were to play them, but some of the convenient items I've talked about for the Game Pass keeps me, makes it easier for me to play them on the Game Pass.
Bring Game Pass to Switch.
And also, I mean, something Microsoft with this streaming might consider doing. But I'm also, because I'm shoreside, I don't need a portable gaming platform as much as I did previously, and my commute's only 15 minutes instead of an hour and a half from last time I was working a desk job. So.
There you go. Jason, you didn't answer that question. How much is too much for you?
I can't possibly fathom paying more than $19.99 a month for any subscription service to anything, period.
Mm-hmm.
The most expensive thing I pay for is Netflix, and I think I pay $18 a month for it. Everything else that I sub to. So the reason I pay for that is because we have an elaborate network of password sharing in which we have the Netflix account. Lauren's brother and sister have the HBO. My dad has the Hulu. Tyler gives us access to his Plex server. And we
this
have
is
this
clever. I like it.
network, right? And so, like, we out of those 4 or 5 things, we have the Netflix subscription, and so we need 5 simultaneous logins, which you only get if you upgrade to the 4K package. Which is why we pay the most for that. But in return, we get sign-ins for HBO Max. We get Tyler's Plex server. We get all this stuff. Hulu, and we only pay the $18 a month. My point being, I can't imagine paying more than $20 for a subscription service to anything. And that includes this. So that's my probably my line in the sand is $19.99 a month.
Yeah, I mean, not that there's a huge difference between what you and Sean said, but I already unsub, but not that I wouldn't sub again for the full price. But yeah, $20 at least, like, because it just doesn't matter that you have a million. You can have a million games. I can't play more than two a month anyway. It just doesn't matter. And so, like, and what I'm going to probably see in the future is a lot of, all right, like I didn't get it a deal, but I bought the year of PS Plus because I knew I was going to get the PS5 soon, and I wanted to start snagging the free games for PS5, depending on how long it might take, and I didn't want to miss out on those. So I got Maquette and Destruction All Stars. I can play those the first thing when I get the
goodie.
Yeah. Right, shut up. But it just doesn't matter because like it's going to be deals or it's going to be subscription hopping, which I hate because I'm bad at, and that's what they want you to do. And then like, whoops, I've paid for 3 months of one thing, or I accidentally paid for 3 months of 3 different things or whatever. But there's limited time, and that value only goes so far.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good talk.
All right, everybody. What?
Good talk.
Good talk. Great talk. And we'll be back with another episode for you. This is technically the first week of the month, so we're doing a podcast this week. Next week, we're doing solo projects the week of the 15th, so we'll be recording on the 18th, so you get a podcast on the 22nd. And then that last week of the month, we'll be trying out the 4-person Let's Play. So that's all we have for you today. Later, skater. I love this podcast. I love video games, and I love you two lovely NFers. Have a fantastic week. We will try, but we are never free to play.
We got PS5s and Xbox Series S, X, 3070.